Hi, and welcome to Throwback Thursday, where I take a video that was made maybe even years ago and remix it to improve it so that when you watch it, you get the most up to date, more accurate information, things that I've experienced and learned throughout the years. Now, this video in particular talks about purchasing a what we call P80 Volvo 850, S70, V70 vehicles, primarily built between 1992 and the year 2000. These are incredible vehicles that still have a lot of use left in most cases, especially if somebody has taken care of them. You could take one of these vehicles that has a lot of issues with them, service them, and drive them for many years to come, even if you don't do all of the servicing. You want to make sure you keep oil in them, keep cooling in them, and just keep general maintenance and repairs done, and these vehicles will serve you well. These are my primary vehicles. I have one with over 540,000 miles on them, and I have some with as few as maybe 120,000 miles on them. At any rate, if you're going to purchase one of these vehicles, acquire it, check it out. Make sure you're not getting in over your head. A lot of people like the R trim levels of these vehicles. The value of those are going pretty high for the well maintained, good condition ones. At any rate, all of these trim levels are good vehicles if they're in good condition, good enough condition for you to daily drive them. There's so many resources to keep them in tip-top shape. It's just unbelievable. I don't think anybody can go wrong with purchasing one of these as long as they know what they're getting into. If you have any questions or anything like that, watch the clip at the end of the video. It'll tell you how to get in touch with me. Please make a comment in the remarks section. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and support me if you can. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day. In this video, I'm going to share with you the top 5 things which I consider to be the most expensive things that you need to consider when purchasing one of these vehicles, which is a Volvo 850, S70, V70 series cars from 1993 to the year 2000. Now, these things I'm sharing with you are not things that I consider deal breakers, but the things that you should be aware of with this specific model that will help you negotiate a decent price or walk away if things will be too expensive for you. I've purchased these cars with burnt valves with just 105,000 miles on it for $400 or $500. If a head has to come off a car, you shouldn't be paying several $100s for it. Along with the top most expensive things, I'm going to also add a few other things that you want to be aware of that can greatly extend the longevity of your ownership, even with a vehicle as old as these. The first thing I want you to be aware of is this motor is an interference engine and is driven by a timing belt. What that means is there's a timing belt that has to be changed ever so often that drives the cams and the crank of the motor. If this timing belt breaks, it will destroy the motor and you'll be without a vehicle unless you decide to spend more than a couple $1,000s in repairing it. The front of the engine is here and the timing components is under this cover. You can remove this bolt, lift this cover up and off of the front of the engine, and you can see all of the timing belt components. There's a couple rollers, a water pump, and a belt. A visual inspection is not sufficient. What you need to do is verify in writing that this timing belt has been serviced within the last 70,000 miles. A lot of times there's a sticker here that has when the timing belt was replaced. Sometimes there's a sticker on the front of the cam belt that'll let you know when it was done. I've seen them here, I've seen them here. At any rate, you want to find out in writing when that timing belt was done. If you can't verify when it was done, you will need to get that done. At an independent mechanic shop, that job to get all of those parts replaced will cost anywhere between $600 and $900. At a dealership, that cost can run as high as $2,000. You need to verify that the timing belt and all of the associated parts have been replaced with quality parts. And if that has not been done, you need to take that in account when making your offer to purchase the vehicle, because you really should have that done as soon as possible. Now, the second thing you need to be aware of is that these vehicles have a awkward positive crankcase ventilation system, a PCV system. Basically, it helps control emissions and the pressure inside the head of the motor. When this system is functioned properly, everything's fine and well. But when this system starts to get old, clogged up, or is not functioning properly, it causes pressure to build up inside the motor, which can cause major oil leaks. So what you want to do is you want to find this hose up top here and press it, see how hard that is. If that thing is hard as a rock, there's a good chance that this system hadn't been serviced in a while. There's really only one easy way to test this system, and that is take the vehicle for a test drive, park the vehicle on a level surface, remove the oil cap with the engine still running, and place a glove over top of this oil fill hole. That'll let you know if the system is serviceable or not. So let me show you how that works. I have that glove over there. I'm going to start the car and we're going to see if that glove tries to inflate. As you can see on my car, the glove is actually trying to suck into the motor. That's a good sign. Next, I'm going to run the test on another vehicle. If the glove tries to inflate, that means that the PCV system needs to be serviced. As you can see, the glove is inflating, so the system does need to be replaced or serviced. If the PCV system needs to be serviced or replaced, an independent shop will charge you anywhere from $600 to $800 to do that service. The dealer will charge you anywhere from $900 to $1,200 to replace that system. The third thing you want to verify is if the car has excessive oil leaks, mainly what we call a rear main seal leak. Sometimes these vehicles have a crankcase ventilation problem with the PCV system, and that system causes pressure to build up in the motor. When that pressure builds up in the motor, it often tries to force the air out, and that usually takes out a seal. So what you have to do is get under the vehicle and look and see if a rear main seal is leaking. When you come down under the vehicle, you have to look where the motor mates with the transmission, and that is approximately there. Right there, that little hole in the middle by that little rusty nut is where oil will be coming out if this vehicle has a rear main seal leak. You can also look on the ground where the car has been parked to see if there's oil droppings on the ground. If that rear main seal is leaking, an independent shop will charge you anywhere from $900 to $1,200 to drop the transmission or pull the motor to replace that seal. If you have to get that done at a Volvo dealer, that will cost you anywhere from $1,200 to $1,800. So check to make sure that the vehicle does not have a rear main seal leak. Another possible expensive repair can be a non-functional air conditioning system. If your air conditioner is not surfaced right and working properly, you can easily look at repairs between $900 and $2,500, and unfortunately I've experienced situations where shops were not able to get the AC working at all. Common issue on these vehicles is that the air conditioning system leaks or the compressor clutch is no longer working properly. What will happen is, if you look down here past your alternator, you will see the air conditioner compressor right there. On this compressor, there's a zip tie that's there to modify the clutch gap. If that clutch doesn't engage properly or the gap is too wide, the air conditioner may work for 10 or 15 minutes. Once it's warmed up, the air conditioner can disengage and not re-engage, leaving you a system that's not functioning properly. So the best way to test that is start the car. When you take it for a test drive, you turn the air conditioner on. You drive the car, make sure the air conditioning works, and then somewhere along after 10 or 15 minutes of driving, accelerate hard. That'll disengage the air conditioner compressor, and then when you let off the gas and start driving normal again, the compressor should kick back on and continue to function. If you come out here and look, and this air conditioner clutch on the front of it's not turning, that means it is not re-engaged and you can have an air conditioner problem. So check the air conditioner, make sure it works properly. If not, you may want to consider negotiating that in your price. Another thing about these systems on these old vehicles is that there's an evaporator behind the dash. Those tubes right there go through the firewall behind the dash where the air conditioner evaporator is. In these older vehicles, a lot of those evaporators are leaking at a fast rate where you'll need to service the system more than once a month. If that's the case, that's a $1,200 job at a aftermarket shop, independent shop, and it could be as high as a $1,600 or $1,800 repair at a Volvo service place. So make sure your air conditioner is working properly. The last big ticket item to me is, lo and behold, nobody would ever thunk it, but these cars actually run and drive well with bad head gaskets. So you want to check to see if the head gasket has a mild issue in the vehicle. Very easy to do. Before you start the car and take it for a test drive, you come over here and you check the level on your coolant bottle. As you can see, this one's right between minimum and maximum. You drive the car for 15 or 20 minutes. Then you stop the car and you come out and you check that level again. While running, this system is not supposed to be pressurized, and that level should not be rising. You get in the car, drive another 10-15 minutes. If you come out here and that bottle has gone from a normal level to a maximum level and it's trying to spew coolant out of that cap, you could have a bad head gasket or the vehicle has a bad cap. You can look at the cap very close to see if it has any cracks in it on the top, because sometimes they get cracks in them and that lets pressure out. But if that level is rising, there's a chance that this car has a bad head gasket, and you do not want to purchase a vehicle with a bad head gasket without knowing. That repair alone is anywhere from $1,800 to $2,800. Done by a dealer is between $3,500 and $5,500. So be cautious of buying a car to make sure that it doesn't have a bad head gasket. In most cars, when you have a bad head gasket, oil mixes in the coolant or coolant mixes in the oil. And a lot of times people will pull a dipstick and see if there's any funny color on the dipstick. Well, that's not the case with these vehicles. 9 times out of 10, a bad head gasket will cause the combustion gases to fill in the coolant passages and force the coolant out of the bottle until the coolant is expelled from the motor, and then the motor overheats. So don't be fooled by a tricky bad head gasket. Another surefire way to check to see if it has a blown head gasket is to start the car, let it warm up, park it on a level surface, and slowly remove the reservoir cap. I have a video linked in the description area below to show you how to do that test. Now these next several things I'm going to share with you, they're by no means deal breakers. They're just good things to know about the vehicle so that you could get a full service life out of them if you choose to. I have literally seen these vehicles with more than 500,000 miles on them, never have had an engine rebuilt. So these cars could last real long and they can stay in real good shape, and they're great cars to drive. One of mine has over 540,000 miles on it, but it has had an engine and a transmission replaced. And I've taken it across country 3 going on 4 times. Now, if you take the car for a test drive and you have a check engine light and it shows that check engine light indicate that the car is having a misfire, and it'll idle a little rough, but it'll drive smooth. These cars are known for having burnt valves, mainly on cars that have been pampered and not driven hard enough. So if you have a burnt valve or a check engine light with a P30123 or 5 code, get a compression test done to make sure that the car didn't have a burnt valve. Because if it has a burnt valve, you'll need to fix it. And those can be anywhere from $1,600 upwards if you have to pay someone else to do it. Now, another thing you want to be aware of that's not a real big deal, but something that you would want to get fixed right away, is that there's a motor mount there that is often bad. No big deal. There's a motor mount in front of the car behind the front wheel, and you can look at the video linked in the about comments to see more about that. And then you want to check your CV axle boots to make sure that they're not torn. Because if they're torn, you would want to get those serviced as soon as possible. So do check the suspension a little bit. And on these cars, they have spring seats and strut mounts that you want to check. If you can grab this and turn this totally around in a circle, it's got a bad strut mount. And if you bounce up and down, and they bounce up and in and out of there a lot, it's got a busted spring seat. So do check those suspension parts. Another unique situation with these cars is they have a full flow heater core system. No matter which your setting is at, hot or cold, coolant is always flowing through the heater core. The heater core is actually located inside the firewall, and it's down to the right of the gas pedal behind these panels here. When those heater cores get old, they start to leak, and they actually leak coolant under the carpet. So if you ever see the windows fogging, you can have a heater core leak, or better yet, if you can't find any documentation of proof that the heater core has been replaced, go ahead and plan on replacing them. The prices of those heater cores start at about $40, and they go up from there, and it's really literally a 30 to 60 minute job if you've never done one before. So check to see if the heater core has been replaced. Make sure it's not leaking. If that heater core ruptures or loses all the coolant while you're driving, you'll overheat the motor and blow the head gasket. So find out if the heater core has ever been replaced. Last but not least, you want to try to see if the motor has bad valve stem seals. Valve stem seals really won't do any harm to the motor, but they will cause the exhaust to smoke, and if that's a problem with you passing emissions, it may be an issue that you want to avoid, because a valve stem seal job can cost anywhere from $2,000 to about $6,000 if done properly, because some people actually remove the head to replace those valve stem seals. And how you can check that is, after you take the car for a test drive, you park it and you let it idle for 5 to 10 minutes. After 5 or 10 minutes, if those valve stem seals are pretty bad, that exhaust will start smoking. My car has been idling for about 12 minutes and I don't see any smoke coming out the tailpipe, but occasionally I do. Another thing you could do is let it idle for 10 minutes, then go in the car and pump the gas pedal a few times. If you see a puff of smoke come out, then it likely has bad valve stem seals. Let me go ahead and rev the motor a few times and see if we see smoke come out the tailpipe. I gave the engine a few good revs. I got some condensation out of the tailpipe, but it's still not smoking. So if it's smoking, could have bad valve stem seals. Now, if you're not handy or you're not a do-it-yourselfer, I really don't recommend you purchase these cars because they do need care. They're older vehicles. However, if you can follow instructions, there are a lot of great resources where you can keep these cars in tip-top shape. If you have any questions, go ahead and make a comment below. Me or another Volvo enthusiast will be glad to answer. If you made it this far, I trust that you found some information that was either useful or entertaining, so go ahead and hit the like button. And if you would like notification of future videos that I post, please subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your support. You can follow me on other social media apps by looking for @RobertDIY. Some form of that should bring up the other channels that I have on places like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. If for some reason you need some more personal help, go to my website at robertdiy.com and use the phone number that I have posted there to send me a text message, or you can email me. If you have questions or comments, please make a comment below. And if you'd like to make some kind of financial contribution to what I got going on here, go to my channel and hit the more link at the end of the introduction statement, and it'll show you different ways that you can support me financially. Again, thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day.